My name is Mary. I am 42 years old, and my life has turned into something I never imagined. I thought betrayal was the worst thing that could happen, but what came after was darker, deeper, something that crawled into my nights and stole my sleep. When Peter left, I believed my suffering was ending, but sometimes an ending is just the beginning of another story. I spent nights thinking about him, about the years wasted, and then I tried to move on. But moving on is not always a straight road. Sometimes shadows follow you, even when you try to walk into the light. I remember one evening after the divorce papers were signed, I was sitting by the window with a cup of tea. The street was quiet. The houses around me looked ordinary. People went about their lives, and yet I felt eyes on me. I turned quickly, but no one was there. My heart beat faster. I told myself it was only my imagination, but the feeling returned again and again. Sometimes when I washed dishes, sometimes when I walked outside, sometimes even when I tried to sleep. I felt as if someone was standing just outside my door, watching, listening, waiting. I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was only fear left over from the pain Peter gave me, but one night the truth came closer. I heard footsteps outside the house. Slow, careful footsteps. They stopped near the window. I froze. I held my breath. I waited. Then nothing. Silence. I stood up and walked carefully to the window, my hands shaking. I pulled the curtain very slowly and looked out. The street was empty, but the footsteps were real. I was sure of it. I told myself again, maybe it was just a neighbor, maybe a cat, maybe the wind. But deep inside, I knew it was something else. The next morning, I asked my children if they had noticed anything strange. My son laughed and said, you are only nervous. My daughter hugged me and said, "You should rest." But their words did not take away the fear that sat heavy in my chest. I started locking every window, every door, checking them twice before bed. One night, as I lay in bed, I heard a sound inside the house. It was faint, like a whisper of fabric moving. I sat up, my heart pounding. I wanted to call my children, but I did not want to scare them. I slowly walked to the hallway. The light was dim. I saw nothing, but I felt it. Someone was there. I turned on all the lights, searched every room, checked every corner. Nothing. But I could smell something. A faint smell of tobacco smoke. But Peter never smoked, and no one else was there. I could not explain it. After that night, I could not sleep properly. I kept the light on. Sometimes I sat in the living room waiting, listening. And then it happened again. 2 nights later, I heard the back door creak open. I rushed to the kitchen, but found the door still locked, still closed. Yet I was sure I heard it. I stood there with my hand on the lock, shaping, my breath heavy, my eyes wide. Then I noticed something on the floor near the door. A footprint. Faint, but real. Muddy, as if someone had stepped inside and stepped back out. I wanted to scream, but I stayed silent. I cleaned it quickly so my children would not see. I told myself again it was my imagination, but my heart knew better. A week later, I went to the market. I tried to smile at neighbors, tried to act normal. But on my way back, I felt someone following me. Every time I turned my head, I saw nothing, but the sound of footsteps echoed behind me. I walked faster. They walked faster. I stopped. They stopped. I wanted to run, but my body froze. I finally reached my house, closed the door quickly, and leaned against it, my whole body trembling. I called out to my daughter and son just to hear their voices. It calmed me for a while, but fear was not leaving anymore. That evening, I decided to tell my neighbor Sarah. She was kind and always invited me for tea. When I told her, she looked serious. She said, Mary, maybe you should tell the police. But what can I tell them? I said. That I feel someone is following me? That I hear footsteps? They will not believe me. She stayed silent. Then she whispered, I have seen a man near your house at night. I looked at her, my blood turning cold. What man? I asked. She described him. Tall, thin, always wearing a dark coat, standing near the corner, not moving much, just watching. I felt my knees weaken. She touched my hand and said, Be careful, Mary. After that, I could not live the same. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow made me shiver. I told my children to come home early, not to stay out late. I pretended it was because I cared for their studies, but deep down, I was terrified. One night, while I was cooking, I felt it again. The eyes, the presence. I turned, and through the window, I saw him for the first time. A figure, tall, standing under the streetlight, his face hidden in shadow. My heart almost stopped. I dropped the spoon I was holding. The noise made my children ask, What happened, Mom? I quickly said, Nothing, just tired. I did not want them to see. I turned back to the window, but he was gone, as if he had melted into the night. I could not eat that evening. I couldn't even drink water. My throat was dry, my hands shaking. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. I asked myself again and again, who is he? Why is he watching me? What does he want? The answer did not come, but the fear grew. The next days were worse. Sometimes I saw him in the distance, sometimes near the school, sometimes near the store. Always standing, always watching, never moving closer, but never leaving either. I wanted to tell Peter, but then I stopped. What could he do? He destroyed me once already, and maybe he was connected to this. The thought made me sick, but I could not ignore it. What if Peter was behind it? What if this man was his friend? What if this was revenge? My mind went in circles. I could not trust anyone anymore. One evening, I decided to test it. I left the house pretending to walk to Sarah's, but then I quickly turned back from another street. When I reached near my house, I saw him standing exactly where I was before, as if waiting for me. My blood ran cold. I slipped into Sarah's house instead and sat with her, shaking. I told her everything. She held my hand and said, You cannot stay silent anymore. We must do something. But what could I do? Calling the police felt useless, but ignoring it felt deadly. That night, I could not sleep again. I sat in the living room with the lights off, watching the street. The clock ticked slowly, every sound louder than normal. Then, at exactly midnight, I saw movement outside. The figure again. But this time closer, much closer. He was standing at my gate, his head turned toward the window. My breath stopped. I felt sweat on my face, my heart racing. After that night, sleep left me completely. I began to sit in the living room until dawn, holding a cup of tea that grew cold in my hands. My children did not know the whole truth. They thought I was only tired, only sad from the divorce. But I was living in a new kind of fear, a fear that wrapped around my chest and would not let go. Days turned into nights, nights into shadows. The man was always there, somewhere, sometimes far away, sometimes close, but always watching. I tried to be brave. I told myself I had survived Peter's betrayal. I could survive anything. But this was different. Betrayal cuts the heart, but this cut the soul. One morning, I walked to the market again. The sun was bright, the sky blue, people moving like any normal day. I tried to convince myself that life was still normal, that maybe the man had gone. I bought bread, milk, and tea. I paid the shopkeeper and stepped outside. That is when I saw him again. Across the street. Not moving, just standing. His dark coat caught the wind slightly, but his body was still like a statue, his face hidden under a shadow of a cap. My hands shook. The bag of groceries almost slipped. I turned away quickly and walked fast, my heart pounding in my ears. Every step felt heavy, as if the street stretched longer than usual. When I reached my gate, I did not look back. I rushed inside, closed the door, locked it twice. My breathing was loud. My heart wanted to escape my chest. I stood there for a long time, listening. Nothing. No footsteps, only silence. But silence can be worse than sound. Silence means he is there, but you cannot hear him. That evening, I sat my children down. I looked at their young faces, my daughter's eyes wide, my son's brow furrowed. I said softly, "There is a man who has been near our house. If you see him, do not go near him. Come inside immediately." My son asked, "Who is he?" I shook my head. "I don't know." My daughter said, "Should we call the police?" I nodded slowly. "Maybe, but I don't have proof. No photo, no video. They will think I am nervous. They will not help." They were silent after that. I saw fear in their eyes too, but they tried to be brave for me. That night, I moved a chair next to the window and sat there with the lights off. My hands clutched a heavy metal candle holder, the only thing in the house that felt like a weapon. Hours passed. The clock ticked loudly. At 2 a.m, I saw movement again. This time, he was not at the gate. He was inside the yard. My yard. My breath caught in my throat. I could see the shape of his coat, the glint of something in his hand. He stood near the back door, his head turning slowly as if looking for a way in. My hands went cold. My heart screamed at me to move, to run, to call someone, but my voice would not come. I slowly reached for my phone with trembling fingers. I dialed Sarah's number. It rang and rang. No answer. I hung up and dialed again. This time, she picked up. Her sleepy voice said, "Mary, what's wrong?" I whispered, "He's here, in my yard." She said, "Call the police." I whispered back, "I am scared." She said firmly, "Do it now." I hung up and dialed the emergency number. My fingers slipped on the screen. My voice trembled as I gave them my address. They said officers were on their way. I peeked out again. The man was gone. I could not see him anymore. The yard was empty. My knees gave way. I sat on the floor, phone in hand, shaking all over. Minutes later, flashing lights filled the street. 2 officers knocked on my door. I opened it slowly. They searched the yard, the street, but found nothing. No man, no footprints, nothing. One of them asked, "Are you sure you saw someone?" I nodded, my voice weak. "Yes, he was here. He was looking for a way in." They exchanged looks, wrote down something on a notepad, and left. Their footsteps faded away like the man's. I closed the door and locked it again. My children were awake now, frightened. My daughter hugged me tightly. My son looked out the window, his face pale. "He's gone," I whispered. "It's okay." But I knew it was not okay. It was far from okay. The next day, I bought a small camera and placed it near the window. If the man came again, I would have proof. That night, I waited again. Hours passed. The clock blinked silently. At 1:30, I saw a shadow move near the gate. My heart jumped. I pressed the record button. The shadow moved closer. But then the camera screen flickered and went black. The power had cut off. My house went dark. The streetlights went out. Everything was silent. My breath came fast. I heard a sound at the back door. A soft scratch, like fingers on wood. I grabbed the candle holder again. I moved slowly to the kitchen, my heart in my throat. The scratching stopped. I stood there in darkness, barely breathing. Then a whisper, very soft, almost not a voice at all. Mary. My name, spoken slowly from the other side of the door. My knees trembled, my grip on the candle holder tightened. Mary, the voice said again, softer, dragging the syllables like a secret. My phone slipped from my hand and fell on the floor. The sound was loud in the silence. The whisper stopped. I ran to the living room, grabbed my children, and locked us all in the bedroom. I pushed the bed against the door. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would break. We sat there in darkness, holding each other, listening. Minutes passed. Hours passed. Nothing happened. When dawn came, the power returned. The lights flicked on. The house looked the same, but it was not. It was a cage of fear. I checked the camera. The footage showed only static. No man, no shadow, nothing. That day, Sarah came to my house. She looked at my pale face, my shaking hands, and said, "You cannot live like this, Mary. You must find out who he is." "How?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "He knows when I'm watching. He knows when the camera is on. He knows everything." Sarah bit her lip and said, "Then maybe he is someone you know." Her words cut into me like ice. Someone I know. My mind raced through faces, neighbors, people from the store, even Peter. Especially Peter. Could it be him? Could he be sending someone? Or was it him himself? The thought made me dizzy. I sat down, holding my head in my hands. "I don't know," I said. "I don't know anything anymore." Sarah squeezed my shoulder and said, "We will find out. I promise." That night, I could not eat. I could not drink. I only waited. The house was silent, the children asleep in my room. I sat by the window again, the candle holder beside me, my eyes on the street. Midnight passed, 1 o'clock passed. Then, at 2 o'clock, I saw a new thing. A note. A small, white note pinned to my gate. My heart stopped. I stood up slowly, walked to the door, opened it just enough to see outside. The street was empty. The note fluttered in the wind. I reached out, grabbed it, and closed the door quickly. My hand shook when I opened it. The words were written in dark ink, messy but clear. "I see you. You cannot hide." My breath caught, my vision blurred, my knees gave way, and I slid to the floor. The note fell from my hands. This was not imagination. This was not fear. This was real. Someone was playing a game with me, and I did not know the rules. But I knew one thing. The game had only just begun. That night, I could not sleep. The silence was heavy, but it was not the silence of peace. It was the silence of fear. My body lay in bed, but my mind was running through the shadows of the house. I thought of the note I found. I thought of Peter's secret calls. I thought of the woman who smiled outside my home. Each thought was like a knife cutting deeper into my heart. I turned my face to the pillow, but I could not rest. Suddenly, I felt as if someone was standing near the bedroom door. My eyes opened quickly. The door was closed, but I was sure I felt a presence. My breath became heavy. I whispered to myself, "It is only my imagination." But my body did not believe it. My hands were shaking. I slowly sat up, looked around the room, but nothing was there. Still, the fear stayed with me. I got out of bed and walked to the living room. The couch stood empty, but in the faint light of the street lamp outside, I thought I saw a shadow sitting there. My heart skipped a beat. I blinked, The shadow was gone. I rubbed my eyes. Was it real? Or was my tired mind making games with me? I sat down slowly, listening to the clock ticking on the wall. Each tick sounded louder than usual. My mind kept repeating the words from the note. You are not safe. You must watch. Watch what? Watch who? I hugged my arms around my body and whispered, what is happening to me? Morning finally came. The children left for school. I was alone again. The silence felt like a prison. I wanted to clean, I wanted to read, but I had no energy. I sat at the table with tea, staring at the note. Its words burned into me. I wondered if Peter wrote it, but the handwriting was not his. I wondered if the young woman wrote it, but why would she warn me? Suddenly, my phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number appeared. It said, "He is not who you think. Look closer. Do not trust him." My hands trembled. I replied quickly, "Who are you? What do you mean?" No answer came. My throat went dry. I felt a strange fear, but also curiosity. Who was sending these messages? And what did they know about my life? In the afternoon, I went outside to clear my mind. The air was cold. The sky was gray. As I walked down the street, I felt eyes on me. I turned around quickly, but nobody was there. I walked faster. Suddenly, I saw a man standing at the corner of the street. He wore a black coat and a hat that covered his face. He was watching me. I stopped. My legs froze. He did not move, but I felt his eyes on me. I whispered to myself, "Keep walking. Do not stop." My heart beat fast as I forced my feet to move again. When I reached the next corner and turned, I looked back. He was gone. I gasped. The street was empty. My hands were shaking so hard that I could hardly hold my bag. When I came back home, I locked the door and closed all the windows. My heart would not calm down. I sat on the couch and whispered, "Who is he? Why is he following me?" Evening came. My children returned. I tried to hide my fear, but my daughter looked at me and said, "Mom, are you okay? You look pale." I forced a smile and said, "I'm fine, just tired." She hugged me gently. Her warmth gave me a little strength. That night, after they slept, I sat in the living room with the lights off. I wanted to see if the man outside would return. Hours passed. The street was quiet. Then, just before midnight, I saw him again. He was standing under the street lamp across the road. This time, he looked directly at my window. I froze. My body pressed against the couch, afraid to move. His face was hidden in shadow, but I could feel his stare. He stood there for minutes, then slowly walked away. My breath finally came out in a rush. Who was he? Why was he watching me? And how was all this connected to Peter? The next morning, I decided I could not stay silent. I called my lawyer again and asked, "Do you know if someone can check my husband's background?" The lawyer hesitated, then said, "Why? Did you find something?" My voice shook. I said, "I do not know, but I feel something is wrong, very wrong." The lawyer sighed and said, "I can ask a private investigator, but are you sure?" I whispered, "Yes, please." Days passed. Each day I looked outside, but the man in the coat did not appear again. Still, I felt his presence near me. My phone received another message. It said, "He hides money. He hides secrets. Look in the garage." My stomach twisted. I looked at the garage door through the window. My hands began to sweat. Slowly, I walked outside, opened the door, and turned on the light. The garage looked normal. Old boxes, tools, paint cans. But then I noticed a wooden box in the corner hidden under a dirty cloth. My hands shook as I pulled the cloth away. I opened the box. Inside were papers, old photographs, and envelopes filled with money. My heart almost stopped. Why was this here? Where did the money come from? My hands moved through the papers. Some were contracts, some were letters written in codes I could not understand. Then, at the bottom, I found a photograph. It was of Peter standing with another man I had never seen before. The man wore the same kind of black coat as the one who watched me outside. My breath caught in my throat. My legs almost gave up. I dropped the photo on the floor and whispered, "No, no, what is this?" I quickly closed the box, put the cloth back, and ran inside. My chest was heavy, my eyes filled with tears. Peter was not just a lazy man, not just a cheater. There was something much darker. I did not know what, but I knew I was standing in the middle of something dangerous. That night, I could not tell my children. I could not sleep. I sat by the window again, waiting, watching. And then at 3 a.m., I heard the garage door open slowly. My eyes went wide. Someone was inside. I wanted to scream, but fear kept me silent. Footsteps echoed in the dark. My body froze as I saw the shadow of a man moving inside the garage. He was searching for the box. My heart beat so loud I thought he would hear it. Then, suddenly, the footsteps stopped. Silence. After a long moment, the garage door closed. I waited, shaking, for minutes before daring to move. I whispered, "Oh my God, they know, I found it." My hands were cold, my body weak, but inside me I felt a new fire. I had to know the truth. No matter how dark, no matter how painful, I had to know who my husband really was. The morning after that long night felt heavy and strange. I could not forget the sound of the garage door opening. My eyes were red from no sleep. My hands were weak from fear. I made tea, but the cup trembled in my grip. I sat at the table, staring at the steam rising, asking myself, who came into my garage? Was it Peter? Or was it the man in the black coat? My mind felt like a prison. Every answer only brought more questions. I could not tell the children. Their innocent eyes must not see this darkness. I had to carry it alone. The phone rang suddenly. My heart jumped. It was the lawyer. His voice was low. He said, "Mary, I spoke with a private investigator. He discovered something strange. Do you want to hear it now?" My throat went dry. My lips barely moved as I whispered, "Yes, please." He paused before speaking. "Your husband, Peter, he has another name. In some documents, he is not Peter at all. He is called Markel." My blood ran cold. Another name? What does that mean? The lawyer continued. He had a case years ago, something to do with fraud, stolen money, and a missing partner. The case was never closed. He disappeared and lived under another name. My body froze. My voice cracked. "Are you telling me that my husband is not who I thought he was?" The lawyer sighed. "I am sorry, Mary, but yes, he has been hiding for years." I dropped the phone. My chest burned. My world spun. 20 years. 20 years I lived with a man who lied about his very name. Not just about love, not just about another woman, but about his entire life. I grabbed the table for support. My breath was heavy. I whispered to myself, who was I married to? That evening, Peter returned. He walked inside without knocking. His face looked pale, his hair unwashed. I stared at him with hate and fear. He tried to smile weakly. "Mary, I want to talk." I shouted, "No, tell me the truth first. What is your real name?" His eyes went wide. His lips trembled. He said nothing. I walked closer, holding the photo from the garage in my hand. I pushed it against his chest. Who is this man? Why do you have this picture? His face went pale like snow. He shook his head and whispered, "You should not have found that." My voice was sharp. "What are you hiding from me? Tell me now." He sank onto the couch, his hands covering his face. He said, "I made mistakes long ago. I needed money. I worked with a man, a dangerous man. I thought I could escape. I thought if I changed my name, built a family, it would be over. But it is never over. They do not forget. They will never forgive." My stomach twisted. I said, "Who are they? Who is the man in the black coat?" He looked up at me with tired eyes. His voice broke. "He is the one I betrayed, and now he is back." My knees weakened. I almost fell. Betrayed? My husband was not just a cheater of love, he was a cheater of life, of money, of trust. The man outside, the one who watched me, was the ghost from Peter's past. Suddenly, everything made sense. The note, the messages, the shadow in the garage. My hand shook as I whispered, "And now he wants revenge." Peter nodded slowly, his eyes wet. "Yes, and he will not stop." For days, fear became my shadow. Every time I heard a car outside, I thought it was him. Every time I walked to the kitchen, I looked at the windows in case he stood there. My heart lived in my throat. My children noticed. My son asked, "Mom, why do you look scared? What are you hiding?" My lips wanted to speak, but I stayed silent. How could I tell them their father was a man with a false name, hunted by shadows of crime? One night, as I closed the curtains, I saw something on the window glass. A mark. A handprint. Fresh. My blood turned to ice. I whispered, "Someone touched my window." My body froze. I locked the door, but fear told me locks would not save me. That night, my phone buzzed again. A message. It said, "He stole from me. He lied to you. Now he must pay. Choose, Mary. Protect him or save yourself." Tears rolled down my cheeks. My body trembled. I typed with shaking hands, "Who are you? Why are you watching me?" The reply came fast. "I am the truth he hides. I am the shadow he created, and soon I will stand in your house." I dropped the phone. My chest burned. I pressed my hands to my ears, but the words still screamed in my mind. "Soon I will stand in your house." My whole body was cold, as if the darkness outside had walked in already. The next morning, Peter was gone. His clothes, his shoes, the old jacket he wore, all missing. I searched every room. I called his phone. No answer. Hours passed. Evening came. He never returned. I sat by the door with the children asleep in their beds. My eyes stared at the darkness outside. My ears listened for every sound. And then, as the clock struck midnight, I heard footsteps outside the house. Slow, heavy footsteps, coming closer. My body stiffened. My heart stopped. The steps reached the porch. Then, silence. I dared not move. The door handle turned slowly. My breath caught. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The handle stopped. Silence again. Then a soft knock. 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. My whole body shook. I whispered to myself, "This is it. He has come." I stood frozen in the middle of the room, staring at the door, waiting for it to open. The knock on the door echoed in my bones. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it would break my chest. The children were asleep upstairs. I wanted to scream for them, to protect them, but my voice was trapped inside me. I stepped closer to the door, my feet heavy like stones. My hand reached for the handle, but I stopped. The silence outside was heavier than the knock itself. I whispered to myself, "Don't open it, Mary. Don't open." But something inside me said, "If you don't, he will not stop." Slowly, with trembling hands, I unlocked the chain. The door creaked as I pulled it open just a little. Cold air rushed in. And there he was, the man in the black coat. His hat covered his face, but even in the shadows, I felt his eyes pierce me. He stood completely still, like a statue. For a moment, we only stared at each other. My breath came out in shaky gasps. Finally, he spoke, his voice low and heavy like gravel scraping the ground. "Mary, do you know who your husband really is?" My throat tightened. My voice cracked. "Who are you? Why are you here?" He stepped closer. I stepped back. His eyes glowed under the street lamp. "I am the man he betrayed. I am the shadow in his past. And now I am here to finish what he started." My hands shook. Tears welled in my eyes. I whispered, "Please, don't hurt my children." His lips curled in a cold smile. "I am not here for them. I am here for him." Before I could say more, he slipped a folded paper into my hand. His gloved fingers brushed against mine, ice cold. He whispered, "Read it." And then, like smoke, he turned and walked into the darkness. I stood frozen, clutching the paper with trembling hands. When I finally closed the door and locked it, my whole body collapsed to the floor. I opened the paper slowly, my eyes scanning the words written in sharp, rushed handwriting. "He stole everything. He left me to die. I want it back. You have 3 days, or he will pay with blood." My chest burned. I dropped the paper as if it was fire. 3 days. What did that mean? What did he want? I curled my knees to my chest and cried quietly, afraid to wake the children. I wanted to run. I wanted to disappear. But where could I go? He already found me here. The next morning, I searched the house for Peter. His clothes were still gone. His phone was still silent. He had vanished. My anger and fear mixed together. He left me alone to face the nightmare he created. I whispered, "Coward! You left me to face your sins." In the afternoon, the phone rang. An unknown number again. My stomach twisted. I answered with shaking hands. A deep voice said, "Did you read my message?" I froze. It was him. I tried to stay calm, but my voice trembled. "What do you want from me?" His tone was sharp. "I told you what he stole. Bring it to me, or the blood will fall." I whispered, "I don't have it." His reply was ice cold. "Then find it. You have 3 days." The line went dead. My whole body shook. I dropped the phone and pressed my hands to my head. 3 days. Where could I find what Peter stole? I thought of the box in the garage. The money, the contracts, the photo. Could that be what he wanted? That night, I waited by the window again. My children slept, but I could not rest. My eyes stayed on the street. Hours passed. At 2 a.m., I saw a figure again. But this time, it was not the man in the coat. It was Peter. He was stumbling down the street, his face pale, his clothes dirty. I ran to the door and opened it. He fell inside, gasping. His eyes were wild. "Mary, he found me. He will kill me." I stared at him, my anger boiling. I shouted, "You lied to me. You lied about your name, your past, your life." He grabbed my arms, tears in his eyes. "I had no choice. If I told you, you would leave me. I wanted a new life." My voice broke. "You destroyed me. You destroyed us. Now he wants blood because of you." Peter fell to his knees, shaking. He whispered, "Please, Mary, help me. If not for me, then for the children." My body froze. His words stabbed into my heart. The children. Yes, I hated him. Yes, I wanted him gone. But if this man killed him, would he stop there? Or would he come for us too? I pulled Peter up and dragged him to the couch. My voice was sharp. "Tell me everything, now." His eyes darted around the room. He whispered, "Years ago, I worked with him. We stole together. We promised to share everything. But when the time came, I betrayed him. I took the money. I left him to be caught. I thought he died. But he lived. And now he wants revenge. I slapped my hand on the table. My voice cracked. How much money? Where is it? His lips trembled. He looked away. I grabbed his collar. Answer me! He whispered, 500,000, hidden in pieces. Some here, some gone. My blood ran cold. 500,000! My whole life I struggled. I worked, I begged him to change, and all this time he was sitting on money stolen from someone else? My teeth clenched. My voice was low, shaking with fury. You destroyed me for this. 20 years of lies, of laziness, of betrayal, and you had 500,000 hidden? He buried his face in his hands and sobbed. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to scream until the walls broke. But instead, I sat in silence, the rage burning inside me. The next day, I could not focus. Every second, I heard the words, 3 days. My hands touched the paper again and again, as if the ink was burning into me. In the afternoon, another message came. Tick-tock, 2 days left. I threw the phone across the room and screamed into my hands. My children came running. Mom, what is wrong? I forced a smile, wiping my tears. Nothing, just a bad dream. They hugged me. Their love was my only strength. That night, Peter paced the living room like a trapped animal. He whispered, he will kill me. He will kill us all. I stared at him coldly. Maybe you deserve it, but my children don't. He looked at me with desperate eyes. Mary, please, you have to help me. Together, we can escape. We can run. My voice cut sharp. Run? Where? He will find us anywhere. We can't hide from shadows. Silence filled the room. Then suddenly, a loud knock at the door. Both of us froze. The knock came again. Slow, heavy. My blood turned to ice. Peter whispered, it's him.
The knock shook the house again. Slow, heavy. The kind of knock that does not ask for entry, but announces power. My chest burned with fear. Peter pressed himself against the wall, his face pale as death. I whispered, stay quiet. My children were upstairs, asleep in their warm beds, unaware of the storm outside our door. My hands shook as the knock came a third time. Knock, knock, knock. Then, silence. A voice came from the other side of the door, deep and cold. Mary. Open the door, or I will open it myself. My blood turned to ice. My body stiffened. I whispered, he knows my name. He knows everything. Peter shook his head, whispering, don't open it. Don't. But then, the sound of metal scraped against the lock. My heart almost stopped. I shouted, no, stop! I will open! I unlocked the door with trembling hands. Slowly, the door creaked open. And there he was. The man in the black coat. His hat was gone now. His face was sharp, with lines carved deep by years of anger. His eyes were dark as night, burning into mine. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. Peter stumbled back, fear written across his face. The man's voice was low but sharp, like a blade. So, here you are, hiding behind your wife, behind your lies. Peter stammered, his voice breaking. Please, listen. But the man raised his hand, silencing him. Then his eyes turned to me. And you, do you know who he really is? Do you know what he did to me? My lips trembled, but I forced myself to speak. Yes, he lied to me. He lied about everything. But please, don't hurt my children. The man's expression softened for just a second, then hardened again. He pointed at Peter. He left me to die. He took the money. He built his life on my blood. And you want me to let him live? Peter dropped to his knees, crying. I was desperate. I had nothing. I wanted a new life.
The man kicked him hard, his voice thundering. "You stole my life. You stole my years. Now I will take everything from you." I covered my mouth, tears streaming down my face. I whispered, "Please, there must be another way." The man looked at me with cold eyes. "You have 3 choices. 1, give me back the money. 2, watch him die. 3, take his place." My heart stopped. My body froze. His words cut through me like knives. Peter crawled toward me, his face twisted with terror. "Mary, please, save me. Tell him we will give him the money." I looked down at him, my anger boiling. 20 years of betrayal? 20 years of lies? 20 years of wasted love? And now he begged me to save him? I turned to the man in the black coat, my voice trembling but steady. "If I give you the money, will you leave us alone?" His eyes narrowed. "Yes. But if you lie to me, I will burn this house to the ground." I ran to the garage, the man following me like a shadow. I pulled out the wooden box, my hands shaking. I opened it, showing him the stacks of cash, the papers, the photo. His eyes burned as he looked at it. He whispered, almost to himself, "After all these years, it's still here." He grabbed the envelopes of money with trembling hands. For a moment, I saw something human in his eyes. Relief, sorrow, rage all at once. But then he turned back to Peter. His voice was sharp again. "Money is not enough. Blood must pay for blood." He pulled a knife from his coat. The blade gleamed in the dim light. Peter screamed, crawling back against the wall. "No, please don't. I'll give you more. I'll give you anything." My breath came fast. My mind screamed. My children were upstairs. If he killed Peter here, they would see the blood, hear the screams, lose their father in the most brutal way. I couldn't let that happen. Not like this. I stepped between them, my arms spread wide. "Stop! If you kill him here, you destroy me too. You destroy my children. Haven't we suffered enough?" My tears fell fast. My voice shook, but I stood firm. The man's eyes locked on mine. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Then, slowly, he lowered the knife. He pointed it at Peter and said, "You live tonight, but you will never be free. If I see you again, I will finish this." He looked at me one last time, his voice softer now. "Be careful who you trust, Mary. Shadows never die." And with that, he slipped into the darkness, leaving the door open behind him. The silence that followed was heavier than the knock had been. Peter collapsed onto the floor, sobbing, shaking like a child. I stood frozen, my body numb. My children's footsteps creaked above. My daughter's small voice called, "Mom? Is everything okay?" I wiped my tears quickly, forcing my voice to be calm. "Yes, darling. Go back to bed. Everything is fine." But nothing was fine. Nothing would ever be the same. The next morning, Peter packed his bags. His face was pale, his eyes empty. He whispered, "I can't stay here. He will come back. I have to disappear again." I looked at him, my voice cold as stone. "Disappear then. But this time, don't expect me to follow. You destroyed our life once. You won't do it again." He looked at me with broken eyes, then walked out the door. I stood at the window watching him vanish down the street. A part of me felt relief. A part of me felt sorrow. But mostly I felt free. Days passed. The house was quiet again. My children laughed, studied, lived their lives. I still looked out the window at night, half expecting to see the black coat under the street lamp, but he never came back. Sometimes I held the paper he gave me, the one that said, "He stole everything, he left me to die." I read it over and over, remembering the voice, the eyes, the knife. And every time I told myself, never again. Never again will I give my life to lies. Never again will I let shadows live in my home. I was Mary, 42 years old, once broken, once betrayed, but now stronger than ever. And though the past still whispered in the dark, I had learned to listen to my own voice, the voice that told me, "You survived. You are free. And no one will ever take that from you again."